Welcome back, everybody, on another Welcome to the J episode. I am your host, Jahenns Manigat, aka 12, aka Canadian Rebel, if you know me that way. Today we have a very special guest, but before I introduce him, I have to make sure that you guys like and subscribe and follow the Field of 68 Media Network. This is all brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. So make sure to like and follow and subscribe. Now, our 20th guest stepping into the J with me. He is a three-time first-team All-State and a three-time All-State tournament team as a high schooler at Bellevue West. He had a 47-point game as a senior, which is still a school record. He made the MVC All-Bench team as a freshman and MVC Most Improved team and second team as a junior. He finished his Creighton career with 1,341 points, 505 assists, 256 rebounds, and 100 steals. He played pro ball in Amsterdam, Switzerland, and Mexico. He's currently the assistant coach at Nebraska Kearney. He is the pride of Bellevue West. Antoine Young is in the building.
Bro. My God, what's good? What's going on?
Man, I'm just chilling, man. How you been, man?
I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain.
Of course you can. Yo, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I've been waiting for this moment for quite a long time. I have a list of people that I want to have on the podcast. I'm just going through the entire list, and it's been a crazy year. I'm just finally happy that we were able to find time to get it done, man.
Yes, sir, man. Anytime for you.
Man, let's get right into it, because you heard in the opening, I just listed off a ton of your accolades. You've been a hooper from time. You've been a bucket. You've been an absolute bucket. Bro, when did you first realize, like, yo, I'm pretty good at this thing called basketball? When did that moment happen for you?
It probably like sixth grade, playing in youth center league. You start realizing you're a little different, maybe than most of the kids you're playing against.
Yeah, it's just a little different. I don't know. Like living on, when I was doing the research on you, I'm just kind of seeing all the stuff that you've accomplished in high school. I couldn't say everything, the introduction can only be so long, but It just feels like you've had a handle on basketball for such a long time. But if you say it started in the sixth grade, I guess that's when it started, right?
Yeah, no, that's when it started taking off, kind of going places.
I know you're a hometown kid, and obviously ended up being at Creighton. Like, you committed pretty early on in the recruiting process as well. But I was also always interested in knowing what other schools were recruiting you. Like, I feel like CU was a pretty done deal from the start, but did you have any other offers, any other visits that you went on?
Yeah, I went to Texas, Arizona State, K-State. I went out
Hold on.
Force, and then
So, Twan, I know you're a hometown kid, and I feel like CU was always in the cards for you. You committed pretty early on in the process, but I always want to ask you this question. What other schools were either recruiting you, or what other visits did you take as part of like your recruiting process?
Yeah. In the visits, I went to Texas, I went to Arizona State and K-State, and then checked out Wake Forest, and then went ahead and committed to D-Rock and Coach Altman.
Yeah, D-Rock flew all the way to Canada to get me, so I already know what his recruiting style was.
Yeah.
Well, what was he telling you that made it so intriguing for you to just commit and stay at home?
I think just the whole atmosphere of the fans at Creighton and what I'd be playing in front of night in, night out, and able to be home, kind of that hometown kid that's playing kind of in front of those fans that have known you for a while, kind of sold it for me.
I've asked this question to some of the guys that play for both Coach Mack and Altman, but I feel like this is a question that you can answer better than anyone, seeing as you played for both guys for 2 years. So you played for Altman the first 2 years, you played for Coach Mack the last 2 years of your career. What are some of the differences in coaching styles between both those guys?
Coach Altman's kind of more old school, kind of by the book, I guess. Coach Mack is very like pro style. Probably has a little bit more swag than Coach Altman. It's kind of night and day, but it's all good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, both legendary coaches, they both did their own thing in their own way. But I mean, I committed to Altman. He happened to leave before I even got a chance to play with him. This is a question I've asked a couple of guys, and it's just kind of neat to get their perspective because, like, it just goes to show, right? Like, you can have a bunch of different styles, but they can also be successful in their own right.
Right.
It's crazy how far like Creighton has gone underneath Coach Mack in the last decade or so that he's been at the helm. You see how much obviously campus has grown. Obviously, that has a lot to do with RAS too. But the direction that the program is heading towards underneath Coach Mack, obviously a couple of hitches on the road this year. But all in all, how do you feel about the process of where campus is going, where Creighton is going as far as being recognized nationally? How far do you think it has a chance to go, and how well do you think they've done so far in the last decade or so?
Yeah, no, so far I think it's been great. I mean, any chance I get to watch the boys on TV, I'm all settled in. They're on my schedule. I can't wait till it's game time. And I think Mac and Rass are just going to take it to another level. The way campus is just the fan base is going to be there. I think on the national level, Mac has done a great job of just putting us, in the mix now. I mean, you say Creighton, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows about us, and our logo is nationally known. So it's going in the right direction.
You had two different roles playing underneath both those coaches, like I mentioned earlier. When you were with Altman as a youngster, you obviously a lot more of a role. You're much more of a role player. When Coach Mack came into the mix of things, he put you in a leadership position, and really your last 2 years, you really flourished underneath Coach Mack. But I know obviously those are building blocks to get there. Kids come in and they feel like they're going to be the leaders, they're going to be the man right away. But like you, like everyone else, you learn how to play a role, and then you slowly matured into your leadership position. What was it about those first 2 years playing a role that really helped you mature into the leader that you became in your last couple of years?
I mean, your first 2 years, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, you don't really, you don't know what's up or down, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, you're just trying to do what the coaches ask you to do. And biggest thing, I mean, as I know, you're like, man, I just ain't trying to make a mistake.
Right.
And mess
trying
up
to stay on the floor, trying to survive.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some PT when I can.
Yeah.
So I think, when you go through those struggles and you kind of stay, every kid now, when they're going through those struggles, they leave or they transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by staying around and kind of learning, toughing things out, it grows on you. It makes you grow up a little bit. It makes you more mature and allows you to be a leader for some of those incoming guys, and then the guys that are with
you. It's funny that you mentioned that, because the transfer portal has just been pure insanity in the last, honestly, handful of years. It really spiked up this past year, obviously, but I mean, not about Creighton specifically, but how do you think the NCAA, different universities could do? What do you think that they can do to kind of solve that issue of kids literally being in 1 year and being out the next?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's something you can change. I mean, it's kind of how I understand if you're transferring for, a certain reason, as far as, coaching or something bad happened. But a lot of kids nowadays just transfer, they go through a little adversity and they want out. And that's why the portal is the way it is right now. It's just crazy. When before, if you were a kid, you got there as a freshman, you went through a little struggle, you might call mom and dad, but mom and dad told you, hey, man, this is college basketball.
You
You better
better
figure
sit
it
your ass
out.
down somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you better figure it out. So I think the transfer portal is just kind of the generation that's kind of going that way. And
Mhm.
all I see is it just getting worse, to be honest. I think it's just going to get crazy.
You had a lot of memorable moments in your Blue Jay career. It brings me to the first fan question of the day by a Blue Jays fan on Twitter. He wants to know what was going through your mind when you hit that bracket buster game winner and saw the fans rush the floor against Long Beach State. Bro, when I think about my college career, that is definitely one of the moments that stands out for real. You just wanted the clock down, you took your time, attacked, got a nice little float piece in the middle of the lane, which was your patented shot. Ball went in. Everyone rushes the floor. They had to call everybody off the floor so we could actually finish the game. But what was going through your mind, because that was such an important game for us in such a pivotal
Uh,
time of that season?
yeah, no question. And I would say, I mean, at that point, you remember Casper Ware, those dudes. I mean, that was a good squad.
Killer. And
And in
this,
my mind,
woo,
yeah, Ennis. I mean, there's a couple dudes that were on that team. So in my mind, I was just thinking, if we don't win this now, we're gonna lose. Because if we got to go to OT, we not winning this game. So, I mean, Mac drew it up, had a ball
yeah.
screen, they ended up switching. I got what I liked, and I was just kind of live with kind of whatever happened there.
Man, that was crazy because when I look back at that footage, I think one of our dance team members actually got tackled hard because fans were coming from both sides right into the middle of that Jays logo in the middle of
Yeah,
CenturyLink at the time. So that was
yeah.
the
I think Doug might have ran into somebody. I think it was D Fresh that ran into somebody.
I just remember that whole night, like from
Oh
honestly
man,
that whole day from because I think we lost a couple of games in a row. It was late February. We just
yeah,
needed to right the ship. So that was such a big shot just to turn, we were going kind of a little downhill a little bit. That was such a big shot to turn that momentum uphill. We were able to win the Valley tournament, and you as a senior that year helped build a turnaround essentially where Creighton was able to get back into the NCAA tournament for the first time, and at that point was 7 years. So first, I have to ask you. We talked about you being thrusted into a leadership position once Matt came onto campus. But after 2 years of being the leader of the team, helping the team get to the NCAA tournament for the first time, what did that mean to you? And I guess a little bit of the legacy that you've left behind.
I mean, that's what you play the game for. I mean, that's what I came to Creighton for, was to playing those moments, playing on the biggest stage. I mean, that's something you start as a little kid. That's where you choose to go to a program to do. And I was just glad I was able to in Omaha, kind of just carrying on the legacy of what Creighton basketball stands for and what it's supposed to be and what it's going to be for years to come.
We make it to the NCAA tournament that year. We beat Alabama, tough game. We ended up losing to UNC in Greensboro, but just like you said, you've achieved that childhood dream of playing in the NCAA tournament. When you saw that Trevor Rutherford missed that last shot, what was going through your mind, Tweeds? Let me know. Let me hear it.
I mean, hey, that dude was a bucket. So when he shot it, my heart was beating fast.
Yeah.
And I saw it go off the rim. And, when you're just looking for somebody to hug and ain't nobody in the area. It was kind of like that. And shoot, I mean, you know how those tournament games are, man. And you live to see another day. You
Yeah.
How it works. And but no, when that ball went off the rim, that was probably the most ecstatic I had been. So I'm glad it did.
I remember being like, I don't know why they keep saying survive and advance. That's literally what the tournament is. Like by the skin of your teeth, however you need to.
Survive and advance. Throw you out in the wilderness, just figure it out, guy.
Man, for real though, that run, like we turning it around from that Long Beach State game to winning a couple last regular season game, making number 2 in the Valley, winning the Valley tournament, beating Alabama, eventually losing to North Carolina and Greensboro. That's a hell of a run right there, boy. If anything.
Yeah, man, I think it was just our team was just so good and so connected, man. The relationships that we had, it was just so much fun, outside of basketball. I guess that
So previous guests of the podcast, I've mentioned this also, just the chemistry that we had off the court, how good it was. I think one of the legendary things that has always been brought up on this show is our trip to the Bahamas. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about a little club hurricane,
Well, yeah,
So it's been stated here before how important that trip was just for us to build the camaraderie off the court, which inevitably helped us on the court. From your perspective, what did that trip mean as far as, bringing all the guys together and teaching us really to trust one another off the court as well as on the court?
No, man, that trip was huge for us. I know everybody was kind of complaining because it made for a long summer. Like, we didn't get no break, and we had to practice. And with those practices, and then from the time we got over there, I think us just hanging out, going to Atlantis, hanging out on the beach, those things made it so much closer. And, Club Hurricane did do its thing to us, so I can't leave that one out. Hey, I'm sure the Godfather Roscoe won't forget about that day.
Hey, Ross, come on the show, bro. But Ross had himself a tough day, didn't he?
Yeah, Ross was struggling.
Oh man, yeah. Those practices, honestly, I felt like really did the practices were tougher than the games because we were all competing for spots. You had Austin Chapman, who was a young gun. He was coming into his freshman year. He was challenging you at every step. I had Avery and Nevin Johnson at my neck at the 2 guard spot, and not to say, and that's not to mention Josh Jones. Me and Josh Jones had a
Jay
battle,
Jones,
but once we got down there, bro, we forgot all about that. It was just straight.
Yeah, man, we forgot it all. I mean, you might have been a little mad about Nevin charging all the massages to the room, but
man, hey, look. Hey, today's day, I'm not sure if I got a formal apology from Mac for blaming me to get. I didn't get a massage from room service. That was Nevin, okay? All right. I didn't cost him an extra $120. That was Nevin. Hey, Nevin, sorry to throw you under the bus too, but hey, I had to get that off my shoulders real quick.
Yeah, you because my man got lit up about that.
Oh man, dude. Oh, so many good times in college, man. I wish sometimes we could go back, but alas, we are where we are. You had a chance to play a couple of years of pro basketball before obviously joining the coaching ranks, which you're doing a great job at right now, and assistant at Nebraska Kearney, working your way up. What is the major difference that you find between college and pro play?
I would say, Mac just prepared us so well for being a pro.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got over there, I'm playing pro ball. It's not very much different than college. The only difference is you're not going to class, and your coaching style is a little different. But I think Mac just did a good job, teaching us every day, college athletes how to be a pro, to be honest. And by the time you got over there, there wasn't nothing you were going to see throw you a loop, and you do about your business in a professional way, because that's how we did it, while we were students at Creighton.
The European style, and I can only speak on that side. I played in Europe pretty much my whole career, but you've played in different spots. Is it different than, I guess, obviously what you see in college? I know that it is, but can you explain maybe some of the little differences, that the nuances that people wouldn't necessarily understand?
Over here, don't get me wrong. You have athletes over here, but overseas, when you're playing, in Europe, wherever you're playing, the game is much more skilled. They just more, and they don't rely on athleticism as much. So when you get over there, you really learn, you really gotta understand different schemes, and really pay attention to those things. Versus, here in the States in college, you can kind of, it's an athletic game at the same time. I mean, it's still X's and O's, but it's more athletics than you actually running stuff and knowing what you're supposed to do and taking advantage of different things. So.
How did you being able to, obviously I talked about your high school career, talked about your college career, talked about your pro career a little bit. How did all of those different levels prepare you to be the coach that you are today?
Yeah, I mean, high school, you're just, like I said, you're just trying to figure it out. I had Coach Woodard who had me, and he was basically teaching me and grooming me to be a college athlete. So all the running and the discipline stuff I had in high school that you probably didn't like, by the time I got to college, it made college that much easier. And then the same thing, you get to college, you realize, everybody was a dude at high school where they came from. So how do you separate yourself when you get to college? Because everybody was good. And then, vice versa, you get to college, now you got Coach Mack and Coach Altman teaching you how to be a pro. Because when you go pro, everybody's good. And how do you separate yourself there? So the different levels are teaching you and trying to build you for the next spot that you go to. And learning all those things helped me coach, today in the way I do things.
So I need to ask, how do you prepare your student athletes now that you're in that position of molding young men to become pros and to move on in their basketball careers?
Yeah, no, I kind of go with the same approach as I was taught. I take a lot from Coach Altman that kind of gives me that old school approach. I take a lot from Coach Mack that kind of gives me more of the pro style and the X's and O's and very detailed approach. And then I go from D-Rock that gives me that toughness, grit, grind out, not a lot of sympathy. I take that approach and I kind of put it all together and try to teach our kids that kind of philosophy through all three of those positions.
Did you develop the scowl that D-Rock has whenever your kids mess up?
Yeah, I kind of got a little flair, and I really blame it on D-Rock. He gets me kind of, when I get riled up, that D-Rock come out.
Yeah.
I got to really back in when D-Rock come out.
Hey, shout out to D-Rock, man. You didn't want to make a defensive mistake with that guy on the side, especially when it was his scout. Especially when it was his scout.
No question. I mean, like I said, you start preparing yourself for different things. And even when we were in college, I mean, you remember D-Rock his scouting reports were to the T. I mean, it wasn't like we ever went on the floor and somebody was running something and we were like, man, we've never seen this before. We had seen it. We knew what was happening. Now, it might be Jimmy Fredette and it wouldn't have mattered,
but yeah, at that point, superstar talent takes over. But if I recall, we held Jimmy to a season low that year. So we did.
Something worked out.
Even though we ended up losing, that's unfortunate. That was the first time that BYU game that I really experienced the power of Quest Center Omaha. I think it was at that point in time, my freshman year. Because they had the additional seats, you remember, on that second level? They had the additional seats. They had the student section come in early. One dude was yelling Jimmer in the student section the entire warm-ups. It just like, you could really feel like what that real college atmosphere is. And that was my first experience of numerous experiences at CenturyLink / Quest Center. So yeah, no, shout out to our coaches, because you're right about our scouting report and being in the right spots. You literally had no excuses on game day if you messed up.
You didn't. You really didn't. And that's when I takes over to coaching now, because my D-Rock comes out whenever you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm planning on doing a show with all of our favorite walk-ons, some of our favorite teammates who really helped us, get ready on those game days, like you just mentioned. We were able, being back in Omaha, we were able to hang out with a couple of them this past weekend, which was always a ton of fun. But I like to hear it from your words. How important was it to have a scout team like those guys who like really, really were drilled and prepared us in every way, shape, and form to be ready on game day?
Yeah, no question. Shout out my guy, Taylor Stormberg.
Let's go. You already know.
My guy, Godfather Roscoe, and my man, Big Matt Dorrit, 7-footer
Yeah.
from Sydney, Nebraska. That's my guy.
Doc. Yeah.
Hey, those dudes every day would battle. T Storm would always, I mean, he knew what was going to happen, but he would battle you to the death. And Roscoe would always be, a shooter that we were supposed to cover. And for some reason, Roscoe every day in practice, you left him open. It's a bucket, or you probably had your hand up. It's a bucket. Matt would be at the 5. If you're not covering those things, it would cut you up.
Man,
So,
Ross hit me with the Roscoe step so often. I don't even know if it should be called a step back at this point, because what a lot of kids are learning now, Ross was doing way back then. We just didn't know how to defend
it. Those dudes, man. Roscoe was a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
T-Storm was a bucket. And then also Matt, go ahead and give it to you. And then I got to give one shout out. I forgot my boy Mo just graduated doing his thing. Mo used to come in there and
Bro.
Hey, box out, hit you with that. Watch your head.
Yeah. One of my favorite guys, even though it sucked just having him on the court playing against us, but Derek Sebastian used to get every 50-50. Man.
Derek was always
all over the court, always.
And coach always come in, you too good to get on the floor. We got Derek out here. I'm like, man. Yeah, man. I forgot about Derek. Derek was.
Much love to those guys because they prepared us, but as well as anybody could. Honestly, if we had to practice against the team that we were about to play against every day, they wouldn't have done as good of a job as our scout team did, because sometimes they were on the set way better than the other team would.
Yeah, way better.
I never really understood that.
Yep.
That's crazy. So before I let you go, Tweez, I gotta ask you these rapid questions. I ask this to everybody that comes on the podcast, and this is gonna be the last couple of questions before I let you go. Again, do appreciate you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to step into the J with me. You already know what it is when we in the J together. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
So let me hear you, bro. So let's hear it. Favorite place other than Omaha to play in the Valley?
I'm gonna have to go Wichita State.
But yep, there it is. Good.
Yeah.
If you're a real Valley boy, Wichita State is usually the one.
Yeah, I didn't. That place would get pretty live.
So I asked you that because Gregory Echenike, I had him a couple of weeks ago, and he said Wichita State and Missouri State. So two tough places. Yeah, two tough places. So I agree with both you guys. Wichita State, I mean, we got a little TBT action coming up in Wichita for all the fans who are going to have a chance to drive up there. Look, I'm not saying we can do it again, but we broke a lot of hearts in Wichita in my day.
Broke a lot of hearts.
Whenever you went and you did 10 months abroad, what was the first meal when you got back into the States?
Chipotle.
Oh, okay. I think you might be your first Chipotle guy. Chick-fil-A has been the #1 answer so far.
I went straight to Chipotle and did my thing.
Yeah. So what'd you get? What was the order like?
Man, well, the order, it was about 60 euros or $60 worth of food. I think I got loaded up.
Man, that's a meal right there for your ass. All right, here we go. Last question, Tweez. A coach that helped you raise your game while you were a Creighton Blue Jay. Who would that coach be?
D-Rock, Darren DeVries.
100%.
Got me right, pushed me every day. Wouldn't be at where I got to or where I am today without him.
I know like D-Rock was the guy who recruited me too. I know how hard he works. I know the different kind of drills that he makes you do. So I agree with you 100%, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about Coach Lutz getting after you. I vividly remember those verbal battles between you and Lutz, but
we had some battles. Lutz know I love him though.
Yeah, no, for real. Hey, look, it just goes to show, like, again, we talked about different styles of coaching, right? Like D-Rock lets two very different styles. Now both head coaches at their own respective schools. So shout out to them.
Yep.
Shout out to the hard work that they put in. They obviously deserve everything that they've earned. And you know, D-Rock already put in work. I'm anxious to
Yeah,
see
he
how
is.
well Lutz is going to do up in Texas, Corpus Christi. So again, Twan, I appreciate you so much, bro. Thanks for stepping back into the J with me. You already know what it is.
Already.
And before I let you go, any last words for the Creighton fans who are listening to this?
And I would just keep supporting the guys and keep CenturyLink loud. And Creighton's on its way, man. It's going to keep trending upwards, and just keep being the fans that you guys are. It was amazing to be around. It's amazing to see. And I really appreciate the things you guys did for me at my time there.
Hell yeah, man. We appreciate you always. You know, we're always going to be rooting for you. Can't wait to see, you know, where your coaching career takes you. I know that you're climbing up the ranks. So, man, I wouldn't be shocked if you're in one of those D-Rock led situations sooner than later. So keep
Yes,
working,
sir.
brother. Keep grinding. I know you're probably on the road right now recruiting too on the low. So look, I'm not even gonna
Yeah, getting
knock your
there.
hustle.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not even gonna knock your hustle, bro. So
Yes,
thank you
sir.
so much, Twan. Everybody else, make sure that you like and follow and subscribe to the Field of 68 Media Network. I appreciate you guys so much. Being in Omaha the last, you know, few days, I've had a lot of feedback from you guys about listening to the podcast and to keep up the good work. So I'm gonna try my best on my end and make sure you guys keep listening. All right. So appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Twan, love you, bro. We'll talk soon for sure. And
Yes,
as
sir.
always, go Jays.